Hello, my name is Geri from godislovetruthlife.com or godislovetruthfreedom.com, because a life without freedom is not a life worth living. And today I am honored to speak with Anil from Rawville Trutham 93 on YouTube, who I met through the sort of after chat of Mark Passio's shadow work seminar recently, and we've been talking offline and connecting a lot, and I'm really excited to bring visibility to your channel. Welcome.
Hello there. How are you, Geri?
I'm really glad. Pleased to connect with a fellow true care warrior. I feel like I can really see the earnest care that you have in your heart to support humanity's ascension, and I'm really enjoying the videos that you have posted so far on your YouTube.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. It's everybody's work. We should be putting the work out, no matter how can we put it, in a small way and big way. Just do something about it, and eventually, hopefully, we can do something about it.
Yeah. For sure. I really wanted to. I haven't had a very regular interview schedule, in part just because of, various personal life situations. But, I wanted to make sure to prioritize this interview because so few people, one would think after being exposed to this sort of shadow work techniques that are available, the whole point is to get people to join the One Great Work. And I would love to, just hear about, why you named your channel Rawville Trutham 93 and what inspired you to start the work.
Well, it's a long journey for me, actually. It's been like this since my childhood. Because of personal circumstances, I was born in a very different family, let's say, than what the mainstream people would think about. I was born in a secret society that accepts no converts, and it's been secret for thousands of years, actually. My name actually goes back to ancient Egypt, to the time of the Athenists. So I grew up with such knowledge. So about the channel itself, when I decided to name it, I was thinking about a lot of names, but the main ones were Raw Truth. Raw Truth. I wanted to have it like without any opinions, just the truth out there, without any personal ideas about the truth, just the truth. That's just the philosophy. And then it clicked. It came to my mind that I know an enemy, adult cartoon, that actually has some kind of truth in it when it comes to natural law. So the enemy's name is Invincible. And in it, there is a civilization that wanted to achieve total harmony with nature. It wanted to achieve complete harmony with it on the personal level and on the collective level. But after hundreds of years of trying in multiple ways, they found out that they can't do it unless they take the weak out of the society. And that's where I truly liked it. Not because I don't like to give chances or anything, but because of the truth requires us to be so strong for ourselves and others, and to truly look after everything in our surroundings, to look for people who are not following natural law, and obviously first to start with the self. So these people eventually came to conclusion that if we don't take these people out, basically half of the civilization that they had it, they won't be able to achieve this harmony. and they want to truly find out who they are and find out the limits that they can reach. So a war started basically on this planet. It's called Viltron. And eventually they were able to win, but at a great cost. And a lot of people lost their lives, a lot of people lost everything they had. But they all agreed that we needed to do that in order for us to achieve the highest harmony with natural law. So that's how I got the idea.
In listening to that, I'm immediately struck by this idea of, who gives one the authority, except man-made authority, really, false man-made authority, to decide who is weak and who is worthy of a sense of higher consciousness. And by exerting that control, you become the very thing you're fighting against. And I am thinking about my own personal journey. I have a son with Down syndrome, and I've changed a lot in my thinking with regard to humanity. It's constantly this balance that I'm trying to find with, meeting people where they are in their evolutionary journey, holding high standards, of course, when it comes to objective morality, but also recognizing that, I do think that those that are quote unquote deemed weak, I do think that they have the potential to achieve a sort of harmony, as you say. What are your thoughts?
Exactly. Those are the weak. The weak weren't the animals. The weak weren't people who have problems that they didn't choose. It was those who had the potential and decided to stay lazy and to not care, basically. So that's how the war started there. It was about those who can do something and decided to do nothing. And eventually, if we want to imitate that, if we want to take that to our world, we have technologies, we have knowledge, so much of it, in fact, that we can help everyone who can't help him or herself. But the problem is that the majority that can do something, that have no limits, are not doing anything because they don't care. And this is what the story takes us to, that if we continue in that path, we're going to pay a very heavy price because of the apathy. The people who can do something, they're not doing anything. So I agree with you, yeah. The weak are those who can do something and they don't want to do anything for all kinds of reasons. I don't know, my religion, this, that, my traditions, all kinds of justifications they can come up with. But eventually they are choosing to be weak, to not conquer themselves, to not have monarchy within themselves, to rule themselves and to understand who they are, basically, and not listen to these ideas that didn't come from them, basically.
Right. And, we talked a little bit offline before we started recording about how religion is sort of responsible for this sort of straying from our spiritual evolution collectively. I sort of have been thinking about this idea of free will choice and what it really means. And I think we all have the choice, right, to either stay on the path that Source has laid before us or not. But yeah, what are your thoughts when it comes to the sort of religiousness that's pervaded humanity's thinking?
I think people may say the religions, especially when we speak about the traditional religions, which are the main reasons why we're not following natural law, because most people believe in those religions, unfortunately. I mean, if most people believed in Buddhism, the world would be far better. At least these people have some kind of caring for others. But the traditional religions, the main religions of this planet are, for me, my experience with them, the history that I know about them, and I came from a secret society that know history that most people don't know. I mean, I grew up knowing that Jesus wasn't crucified and he had a life and all of that, you know. These simple things just showed me that most of people don't know anything about their religions. And these religions, in my eye, they have some truth in them just to sell you the poison. They will put some truth, some love, some true care in them just to sell you the poison. Just like when you have a bottle of Coke and you wrap it in a good way just to make it good for the eye. But we all know it's poison. And for me, religions are so responsible for what's going on in the world nowadays. And I'm speaking about traditional religions here in that sense. When it comes to freedom and religion, sure, since you have freedom from the Creator, no one can give you that, no one can take it from you. You have a right to follow whatever idea you want. But the problem with religion is when it says, I'm gonna believe in a stupid idea or idea not based in truth, and I don't care what it does to others. This is our problem. We're not against people who want to believe in pink elephant floating over me right now. There is no problem in this. You want to be stupid, unless you bring facts, then it's going to be like this, stupid. But there is no problem in this. The problem is when you don't care about others. And we can see it in these religions. No matter how much people try to sugarcoat them, we can see it. These religions are bringing so much darkness into this planet, have been bringing so much darkness for thousands of years. So for me, I know most people don't want to listen to this or see it like this, but the more you go deep into natural law, the more you say, you know what? You have a freedom to believe whatever you want, but you have no freedom to believe in the lie, especially if the lie destroys others and others' lives and take their freedoms from them. You can believe in a lie that only harmful for yourself, like I want to smoke and I believe smoking does no harm. Yeah, you can go knock yourself out. But when you say, I want to murder animals, for example, for sacrificial ideas I have, then no, you should be stopped. And from there, it always starts with things that are lower than us. From there, it goes to, you know what? I don't want that race. I hate that race. You know what? We should have our Messiah, and it's only ours, and everyone is a slave. So from there, from these small points, people say, yeah, let them believe in that. But eventually, over time, their hearts will become so dark that they will lose their compass, and they will eventually become Nazis. People not able to see. So yeah, that's my take on religions, and especially the traditional religions. And just guys, I wanted to say something. Religion is any idea that takes away from truth. So you can believe in smoking is not bad for us. You are a religionist because it is bad. We are biological machines that smoking kills us. That's it. You know, the facts prove that. So religion isn't just the traditional ones. It's every idea that takes you away from the truth. What is the truth? It's what is. That's it. If that door is black, the truth is that that door is black. That's it. It's not what I want. It's not what others want. It's just what is.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. I love everything you said. I think it's really important that we also highlight, as you said, that religion isn't just a sort of like what one would think of, you know, Judeo-Christian traditions, you know, various Eastern traditions. It's also the idea of, you know, man-made authority. It's also the idea that, you know, it's okay to take a life that's not yours, for example. But yeah, how do we how do we show people this idea that natural law is something that we should live by, not just talk about? How do we show that correspondence?
Well, we start from ourselves. Eventually, all change comes from individuals changing themselves. There is something called the collective, but it doesn't matter if you don't change yourself first. First, you start from yourself, then you start breaching others. When it comes to man-made authority and how can we show people, there are a lot of ways, historical societies that lived very close to anarchy and they prospered. There are a lot of ways of, there are a lot of facts about societies that didn't harm others, and others here are animals, for example, and they were superior in everything to all the societies that harmed animals, but in two things. They weren't superior in wars and they weren't superior with their lust. So we have a lot of evidence about that. But eventually, it's so simple. When it comes to natural law and man-made authority, natural law for human behavior, it's so simple. If you don't like me raping you, murdering you, stealing from you, trespassing your property, all of these things, then don't do it for me. Don't do it to me, to my property, which is essentially, natural law is teaching us what is property. If you go to the nitty-gritty, natural law is just teaching you what's yours and what's not. That's it. When people say, no, I'm gonna believe in someone who will implement my agenda, and that someone could be man-made authority the way we see it nowadays, like government, politicians, or the Messiah. Because if you look at the messiahs of all traditions, they are basically saying, I'll take that group, I'll make them kings of the world, and everyone is a slave. Everyone is number two. So it's the same. Nothing has changed, in fact. The name we call for communism, socialism, Nazism, democracy, all of these names are the same ideas of ancient world, but in the ancient world, we call them Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, other things. But essentially, it's the same. It's people giving up their minds to a few elitists who will decide what they can do and what they cannot. And these elitists won't say that for themselves. They will say, no, we can do whatever we want because we view ourselves gods. If you don't want that to happen to you, simply don't do it to others. You may say, but yeah, what about this, what about that? It's not my problem or your problem, that thing. First of all, let's think about, can we live without harming others? Yeah. But you tell me, I need roads, I need that. You don't need roads. You were convinced that you need roads. Who told you that you need the roads? Who told you that you need that kind of electricity, that kind of water, that kind of shelter? And the natural law, those are your rights. No one can take them from you. No one can give them to you. It's your right to do that for yourself. But when you know nothing about the world, unfortunately, because you were indoctrinated into a lot of ideas that are simply not true. And these ideas were promoted by the elitists that they want you to think that only the solution can come from them. You will eventually see that I have no problem, take it from others, because I care about myself only. And this is the problem with humans. Not caring about others, not caring about, what, perhaps I won't have electricity for 2 years, but at least I won't be harming others. They don't have that kind of loving in themselves, because all they associate themselves with is the materialistic world, which is a very false idea because they don't know themselves. They never went out of the box that was drawn to them. And if we are going to do it, people need to understand that no matter what happens in the physical world, you shouldn't be breaking natural law just to survive yourself and the fuck with others. It doesn't work like this, because there is a wheel. There are cycles in the creation. If you do that to others, that will be done onto you. If we can't recognize this, then it will continue and it will be far worse with all the technologies that we have nowadays. And I think eventually, if people don't wake up, just like the body, if someone wants to cure themselves, but it's too late for them, then it's too late. You can't do anything to them. And eventually, the body of humanity must recognize this. And we are now at the last minutes of that scenario. That hey, if we don't stop immediately, no matter what happens to our safety, no matter what happens to our, the things we love, my car, my house, my job, my this, my that, if we don't stop immediately, it will be too late, and the body will die, and no one can help it. The same thing I see people asking me about, since I have a lot of knowledge about how to cure the body naturally through fasting, how to not poison the body, all of that. I see a lot of people, and I have people in my family. My mother, for example, her kidneys are only working 40%. Soon enough, if she doesn't change her ways and if she doesn't align with nature, no one will be able to do anything to her. No one. And this is exactly what's going on the collective level. All societies have all kinds of justifications about what we want, what they want, but no one wants to say that, hey, what if there is something that I can do that will give them their freedom, won't infringe on their freedoms, and they can do the same to me. And then we will figure out what happens. We'll figure out other ways to generate electricity. We'll figure out other ways to generate roads, all of these things. But the main problem is people are so afraid of dying, thinking they're in the illusion of safety. They bought into that illusion so much since thousands of years, and their parents didn't try to correct them into that, and they are stuck into it. You simply, unfortunately, like if you run into anyone in the street nowadays, you'll find a few people that are truly not afraid of dying, and they will really open their minds to ideas. What can I do with the time that I have been given? We need to change that. This is the only solution, the solution that comes from inside of us. You need to sit with yourself. I don't want to rape others, even if that will provide me with roads. I don't want to steal from others. I don't want to enslave others. And eventually the road will show itself. As the saying goes from Sufism, it says, Sufism or Buddhism, I don't remember, but it says, when the student is ready, the master will reveal itself. And this is what people don't trust, because they don't have knowledge about how nature works. They think if they don't come by a law, then there would be chaos. They don't understand that what we have now is the chaos they are afraid of. And it may get dirty, at the beginning, just like when you put somebody on fasting, water fasting, after they are coming from all the processed food diet. Yeah, at first it will be hard, of course. It will be a shock. But eventually, and very fast, in fact, the body will regulate itself. You will start feeling good immediately. And if you go outside, ask people, do you really want, if there was no police, there was no military, there was no rebels, do you really want to have a fight with me? No, because they are still in the illusion of safety. They would say, no, I can lose myself. I don't want to do that. So you immediately can see that they don't want that, but they don't know better. That's why our job is to educate them about better ways. And eventually, if we were to get to that point of view, in the aggregate, which we need the aggregate to achieve that, those who didn't want to change must be dealt with in all kinds of ways. I don't want to say it like this. I don't like it to be like this, but this is the truth. If a society, a village, for example, most of the village decided to go for natural law, and 10 people decided no. Just like the ancient people of ancient tribes, they were sending them to the wilderness and saying, you know what, you don't want to change, you don't want to conquer your fear, so don't come back, because you are hurting us and you're hurting yourself. If you want to change, we can help you, but if you're not willing, don't come near us. So yeah, those are the only two solutions we have. Either do it in the mind, or if we are too late in the process, we need external help.
Wow. Yeah. I'm so much came forth listening to you. A lot of what you're saying reminded me of this dream that I had recently, where I saw humanity as a long line of people just waiting in line. And I found people that have been sort of stuck in their evolutionary growth process, and I was pleading for them to get out of line, and they just wouldn't listen. They just stayed in line. And that's sort of like the visual analogy for what's happening right now. It's just, whether it's motivated through fear, maybe they don't have enough lived examples to go off of, whatever the motivation, it's frustrating, right? Because it's like that work needs to be done by them. And if they're refusing to do it, it's very hard right now.
Indeed. One of the things they took from the traditional religions was reincarnation. If people truly understood what is reincarnation and how it works, and that there is no running from the prison that you have created for yourself and for others until you have the responsibility, then they will change immediately. But as I said, their fear of death is so big, and they can't seem to see that they are dying at the end of the day. I mean, it's so counterproductive. They are shooting themselves in the foot, and they're not seeing that, they're not feeling that, because they are too distracted. And I remember a quote from a man who was in Europe at that time. He said it in 1918, 1917. He said, with consumerism, this time we will take over completely. This is the last revolution. Consumerism, distractions, all of these things. Don't give them time to be with themselves. We know that they're afraid to know themselves, and add on that we will stop them from being alone with themselves. We'll always provide them with distractions to not look for once at their actions and to not consider, am I living a good life? So that's the body of humanity nowadays. That's why they are in lines, refusing to help themselves first. I mean, natural law, the beauty about natural law is that, first of all, it tells you, you will help yourself first. Like, you don't care about others? Okay. But think about that, helping yourself, becoming so healthy. No disease can come to you. The idea of living 70 years, and no, that's nothing. That becomes the best. You will live up to 150 years. You know, all the accounts from the ancient world, people speaking about people who ate nothing but fruits, according to natural law, according to our biology, lived more than 200 years. You won't find these people wanting to hurt others. And eventually, all of these people were exterminated by others. They didn't initiate wars. These people were murdered because they lived with natural law. Perhaps they weren't 100% perfect, but they came very close to really living with harmony with natural law. And as I said, this is the beauty. You first help yourself. You will get rid of all the diseases in your body. Your mind, the chemicals in your body will change. All the stress, all the fatigue, everything that stops you from thinking clearly, all that will go away simply by aligning with natural law. And for people to say, I can, this, that, it's a lie. We're living at a time that you don't need to go forage for your food. You know, it's so easy to get your fruits, your veggies from supermarkets. Like it's in your neighborhood. It's so easy. We're not asking people to climb Mount Everest, you know, with nothing but a shirt. No, we're not saying that. We're telling people just, you know, do the minimum, and things will start to change immediately. And the reason why things will start to change immediately for humanity, even with minimal effort, is because humanity is so sick that immediately taking one bad thing out, one thing will show immediate results. Just like someone who was barely succeeding in their exam and they got one answer right, they will immediately succeed and you know, pass the exam just like that. Nature is not telling you to be perfect. In fact, you can't achieve perfection. But it's saying, you know what? When it comes to natural law, you either be perfectly fit. When it comes to the collective level, to the outer level, you don't want to eat fruits all the day. You want to eat some chips. Although they're vegans, go do it. You'll be harming yourself. But you can't do that. You can't say, you know what? I'm going to rape every 10 years. I'm going to murder every 15 years. No, there are things that we need to be perfect with when it comes to natural law, because it's not up to us to choose which is which. The laws exist in nature. In fact, one of the oldest names for natural law is consequentialism. And this is the perfect name that I love about natural law, because it simply says, you know what? Those are the consequences of your actions. No one did that to you. You did that to yourself. Eventually, if you are a natural law practitioner, of course, people will do things to you. But for the majority of people, it was always themselves doing that to themselves.
Yeah, and I think a crucial component to all of this, and you mentioned it earlier, is this concept of true care. There's a self-loathing in that. People don't care for themselves, and therefore they don't care for others. And, I'm thinking a lot about this, concept covered in some of Mark Passio's earlier work, where, if one suffers, we all suffer. And just seeing the sort of unified field of consciousness we're all a part of, that we deny, that it's not just an injury to another that we're committing. It's really to ourselves when we violate natural law.
100%. There is something called the law of the one. For example, if somebody wanted to experiment with nuclear weapons in your neighborhood, they will be harming you, whether they like it or not, whether they believe it or not. So your job is to awaken them to not do that in the neighborhood, because this is a nuclear weapon. This action is very dangerous. And, there are a lot of ways to see the law of the one work in our lives. For example, when we, look at nature and we start, for people who hunted species to extinction, they found very fast that they have upset the natural order of that part of nature. Things weren't working correctly. Accordingly, other species start to die. So the law of one is very easy to be found. It's very easy for us to see. And indeed, if we harm ourselves, we harm others. And people refuse this idea because they don't want to take responsibility because of self-loathing, as you said. And I, from my own personal research, from my own personal history, I'll give a small anecdote here about my history and how I knew that self-loathing was here with humanity since day one. Actually, we weren't natural, and some, one day suddenly people start to have self-loathing. No, it didn't happen that way. It was artificially inserted into our bodies, into our emotions, into our genes. And because people didn't do the shadow work for thousands of years, that went through generations, through epigenetics, till our day. That's why we're still suffering from this. I remember when I was in the 3rd grade, perhaps 4th grade, something like that, we were learning about Adam and Eve and all of that. So I went home, I told my mother, we were learning about this today. She was laughing. She started laughing. I said, why are you laughing? Isn't this the truth? She said, no. So she took me to a closed room. She closed the door and she told me, we never had Adam and Eve as in two persons. We had a lot of Adams, a lot of Eves, and eventually we had two dads. I said, how come? If humanity came from naturally, we should have a mother and a father. She said, no, we had two dads, and those two dads are in control of our destiny. Two dads. She was referring to the Sumerian tablets, basically. But those two dads are what made us who we are and what we are through the systems they gave us. And then I was shocked to know that such thing can exist. And when I grew up, I was really researching that from my my own materials at home, and then listen to others throughout the world. I found that it is true, self-loathing was introduced to us, but that doesn't mean we can change ourselves. The same way it was introduced to us, we can change it, but it takes work. Laziness won't help you. Waiting for a Messiah won't help you. And eventually, when they created that into us, when they put that into us, they gave us the Messiah idea. Then, you want to get rid of the problem that we gave you in the first place? Wait for one of us to come back. As if when they come back, if they came back, they will help us. It's like they created the poison and they are selling you the medication, which is what we see nowadays. I mean, nothing has changed in the system, just the names and the places, but it's the same thing. Eventually, self-loathing is telling you why you hate yourself so much that you want to shoot yourself in the foot. Why are you smoking? Why are you eating processed shit, eating things that are artificial to your system? Why are you doing that? And people have no answers other than, I enjoy it, I enjoy it, I love it. Those are lies. No one enjoys poison. In fact, look at them when they get sick. When people get sick, sitting in the bed all the time, they will be cursing, they will be asking God, why, I have this, I have that. That shows that they don't like sickness, they don't like poison, but they are still promoting it, which means they are unconscious about themselves. They don't know the first things about life. And that's why they're still crying about the consequences that they have been creating for themselves for thousands of years. No one can create. No matter how powerful they are, no matter how much knowledge they have, no one can do it to you unless you say, I want it. No one. You may say, I'll die, but I won't have it. I want to give it to my children, to the next generations. I will sacrifice myself, which is working according to natural law, refusing the lie no matter what. If people did that, if people want to do that, we'll come out of it so quickly that people will start laughing at themselves. How did I live like this? It's so easy to grasp natural law. It's so easy to grasp nature. It's just observation. Why I didn't see it all that time? It was because you didn't want to see it. You were telling lies to yourself. And this is the importance of shadow work. Sitting with yourself. There are a lot of ways to do shadow work. And in fact, in the seminar that Mark gave us, he gave a lot of ways. But my favorite way that I saw it works the best is sitting with yourself in front of a mirror in darkness. If you want to have a candle or something, so be it. And asking yourself, why I'm doing these things? How did I know that what I'm doing is the true thing? Did I do any research? No. Did I think about it for 1 second of my life? No. It was given to me. I was taught like this. And you wonder why wars, sickness, starvation, famines, all of the things have been around you, and eventually it will happen to you because these elitists have no love to anyone, even to the people who work with us, even to their own families, and they will do anything. They are doing that, by the way, to enslave all of us completely. So if people don't look at themselves and ask these simple questions about, how did I know that what I'm doing is the true thing to do? It's not going to be easy way for them. They're going to suffer so much, and eventually they will make us, all of us, and others suffer with them, which they have no right to do that. If you don't want to change yourself, if you want to say, you know what, I'm so sick of smoking, and I don't want to change it, so I want to have I want to put a bullet in my head, so be it. You have a right to choose when you want to die, but people are not doing that. You are acting in wrong ways, and they are promoting these wrong ways to others. And this is where we come into the picture. The occultist of that knowledge. We need to do everything we can to put that knowledge out and to help them see that it's so easy. Just be courageous, have some self-love. And eventually it will be so quick the more love you have. But you need to choose. As the saying goes, you can't make a horse drink from the water. You can show the horse the water, but the horse must say if I want to drink or not.
Right. I think you're also touching on this concept, like, you know, in serving the false ego, that creates a separation, which is a violation of this oneness, this law of one concept, and just that first initial choice of separation creates more and more separation and suffering. And I have had in my personal journey these sort of crossroads moments of, you know, do I make a choice out of love or fear? And sort of always keeping in mind that if I continue to choose love, there is a fearlessness in that choice. It's not about getting rid of the fear it's going to be there to take that risk to choose love, but you fear less. You can, and it becomes easier and easier as a practice. The more that you do it, it does become easier. And you do, I feel like, and you talk about this in your videos, and others have talked about it in their work, that natural law is real, whether people want to deny it or not. And you can experiment with this in your own life, and you can see the results. When you make a false ego choice, these are the consequences. When you choose love, these are the consequences. And I invite people to just try living by it and seeing the results.
100%. A lot of people would say ego is the problem. We need to get rid of the ego, especially like in the New Age movements and all of that. No, that's wrong. I don't see it like this. Ego in itself is not the problem. Ego is just your personalized experience. Let's say two people went to the shop to buy tables, chairs. How would they communicate without ego? They would say, well, I want chair. Okay, what kind, what color? You know, you need the ego to say, I love the blue chair. I love the pink table. So yeah, that's ego under control. But when the ego goes out of control, which is not working under natural law, then we have all the problems. And as you said, the more you go into the ego, the more the ego will get bigger and bigger, like a darkness, like abyss eating you inside out. Because, I mean, I'm giving so much examples about how the body works and in relation with natural law, because as within, so without, you know thyself and you will know the universe and the gods. People don't lie when they say these things. And the easiest way to experiment with natural law is to experiment, as I said, with the self. And okay, you may say, okay, I don't know a lot, about myself. What can I do? You know about your body. You have your hand, you have your head. Go experiment. The ego told you, hey, you should be eating that kind of food. You didn't research, you didn't know any better. Go look at that food, eat that food alone to see that if it's good or bad. Sit with that food alone, that kind of stuff you want to introduce to your body, and see how it reacts. And eventually, in fact, in a couple of days, less than 2 days, you will see that, hey, this thing is killing me. A lot of people who, for example, eat the carnivore diet, which is pure Satanism at its finest. They don't eat it all alone. When they separate, other things from it, they eat only the flesh raw, without cleaning it, without doing anything, just like other animals eat it. They will come to the conclusion, even it won't take them 2 days. They will come to the conclusion that, hey, I can't. Why you can't do that? Because you're not supposed to do that. That's how things work when it comes to natural law. In fact, in all the massacres, all the genocides that happened throughout history, the soldiers, the order followers were given they were given things to to make them asleep somewhat, to not see what they're doing, because every time they try to do that, the ego, their emotions were calling them, hey, you can do that. In fact, let's take the example of World War II. The reason they created the concentration camps, yeah, sure, the first concentration camps were created for those who didn't agree with the Nazis from the Germans. But eventually they took all those who didn't agree with the Nazis and those who wanted to exterminate to these concentration camps, because the soldiers weren't able to do it face to face. When they were looking at the faces of their victims, they weren't able to do it. And we see the same thing with the slaughterhouses. That's why they hide the slaughterhouse. That's why they don't put the animals, true faces on your bottle of milk or on your steak. Because if you see what these victims are going through, your emotions, your consciousness will be calling on you, hey, stop, hey, no, perhaps there's something wrong. And from there, you will start your learning journey. And as I said, if you don't want to learn, don't expect darkness to help you. If you do bad things to your body, for example, and expect, from tomorrow, while I'm eating this or I'm doing this act to my body, I'm going to start changing, you're deceiving yourself. Change to the good. Listen to this, guys. Change to the good doesn't come from introducing things. It comes from stop acting against the law. Are you eating bad stuff? Don't introduce vitamins and supplements. And I know a lot of people, when I speak, I talk about supplements, even from the truth movement that we have. But these people don't know what they're talking about. The cure doesn't come from introducing artificial things, because the problem is us against nature. The problem is not like we have a car and it's not working, which is artificial in itself. It's something natural we're going against. So in order for us to see it again, we need to go back to nature. But people are not doing that. People are having problems. They are going to have a surgery, which is ego, acting on the egos, not willing to see the truth, and having the egos become bigger and bigger. I'm going to go to man so man can help me. I'm going to go to see what man is capable to do, which is leading to catastrophes inside of us and around us.
Yeah, I love everything you said, and I sort of am thinking a lot about this idea of the ego gone awry and the destruction, and I kind of feel like humanity has been conditioned to essentially we've been having a childish tantrum collectively, and we refuse to parent ourselves. We refuse to take responsibility for this millennia long childish tantrum we've had against ourselves. And I know you actually did that shadow work. You actually looked at yourself in the mirror. I did that too. Very few people actually do that work, physically looking at themselves, telling themselves I was wrong, telling themselves I need to change. These are the things that I'm going to do. These are the steps that I will be doing. They're so afraid of looking at themselves, and they would rather live in an illusion and have that tantrum instead of face their own worst nightmare, which is the choices that they've made.
100%. I remember when I started my journey towards the truth, I had a lot of knowledge about natural law from my own childhood, but I was hating my society. It doesn't mean that I love them now, but I was hating them because they chose to stay in a closed box, while I can see that they can benefit the world. So I didn't take a lot of things from the society at first, from the books that we have, which is these books you won't be able to get. Like, these books cost thousands of dollars. They are so rare. No one can give those books to you unless you are part of the secret society. But eventually I told myself, I want to know the truth. I just want to know the truth. That's it. I'm so exhausted. I want to know the truth about everything. I didn't let my ego say, I want to know the truth about some things. And I kept my carnist ideology because I was born on a farm in nature. We had a lot of cows and all of that. Still we have them, my family, I mean. So when I sat with myself, I sat with myself and said, you know what, I want to know the truth, no matter what it brings to me, even if that means I'm going to live only 2 years. That's it. I want to know the truth. And it was super fast, so fast, in fact, that I arrived at all the answers that I wanted, because I truly, truly didn't have any ego. You might say, but you need the ego to differentiate between things. Yeah, but after you have the knowledge. The problem is people are coming to the knowledge with their cups full. How are you thinking that you're gonna get something out of whatever you are looking at if your cup is already full? First of all, which takes us to the trivium method, gather as much as you can. Gather knowledge from all kinds of sources. Don't judge them, just gather as much as you can. Then you can process that. And you may say, but what if I am so delusional that even when I'm processing the knowledge, I'm still taking sides? That means you didn't truly set your ego aside. You were still judging from the ego. You were still saying in some aspects, and you can see it with people who are doing harm to animals and they don't consider them a part of natural law that we need to abide by. They're saying, you know what, yeah, we don't need it to humans, we should be better with humans, but when it comes to animals, they're not thinking about them at all. Which means they, even when they gathered the knowledge, they didn't gather the knowledge, but let's say they gathered the knowledge, they're still taking sides with the ego, with the already implemented ideas in them from their childhood. So these people didn't do the shadow work, and this is why it's so important. First of all, tell yourself, I want to know the truth. Act on it. It's not just speaking. Act on it. When you go out with your people, try to not judge. I started like this. People would ask me, why are you not talking? We used to bring that subject and you used to give your opinion and of that. Why you stopped? I said, because I truly don't know. I don't want to be lying. So I said, if I have something good to say, I'll say it. If I have an opinion, I'll say it. Other than that, I'll just listen. Do these things. Start gathering knowledge in every aspect of your life. And to arrive at natural law, in fact, I'm planning for a video to how to arrive at natural law. People think, we need only the occultist, all of that. No. It's so easy. In fact, in every aspect of our life can lead us to natural law. Even in the so much artificial world that we're living in right now, crammed into the cities, we still can get natural law easily by just questioning our life. I'll give an example, one small example about that. You would wake up one day, your whole dream was to work in the jet fighters industry, making jet fighters and all of that. I love the idea of jet fighters, not because what they are using them today, but the engineering of these, marvelous machines. Let's say this was your dream since your childhood. You got your dream. This is your first day of working, and you go in there, and you're saying, you know what? I'm still a beginner. I'm still new. I'm gonna be listening to the experts that have been working there for 30 years and everything. Eventually, you will arrive at, you know what? Why do we have a closed place, for secret objects? I thought we are doing that to profit our country. If you are coming from that idea. Why are you stopping us from looking at all of these secret projects? And eventually they will tell you, this, that, but you won't be convinced. But because you want to do the work, you want to know yourself, you say, you know what, I'm gonna do my research. And you will go to do your research. That's how we got a lot of people coming out of these industries, working in black projects and saying the truth. Because unfortunately, they spent so many years in them, but eventually they came out and they understood these things are not for the so-called social security of the country and for the people of this plantation or that plantation. No, it was for the elitists. And that's one example. If you truly want to know yourself, if you truly want to know natural law, you can get any point in your life and ask yourself, do I know everything about it? No. Let's do research. Simple as that.
Right. Yeah. And, sort of going back to what you said earlier about, the trivium process and like, how do you discern? I think a key part, at least for me in my discernment process, is that true care, that empathy that I have. And that is the moral compass that I sort of use as a sieve when it comes to knowledge. Is this serving or not our higher soul purpose, which I think is one of yeah, I keep saying it, but I just seeing I have an awareness that I am not an island, that the animals, the plants, we're part of it. We're part of this.
Yeah, everything is part of it. Everything is part of our journey here. The reason we reincarnated, I'm not going into reincarnation heavily here, but the reason we incarnated in the 3D while having consciousness that again go beyond the 3D is because we need to learn how to live in the 3D first to grasp the responsibility of, you know what, it's not up to me to do whatever I want, and you need to know how to behave. You need to know how to live in the 3D while having this consciousness, because as the saying goes, those people who are not experiencing what you're experiencing, they can easily judge you. Yeah, because of course, if your legs are in the fire and somebody is talking, laughing about you because his legs are not in the fire, it's easy for him, sure. And that's why we needed to come to 3D to be put in the real exam. Hey, you claim you know? Let's see. You know what? Let's go to that planet. That planet is fucked up, so fucked up for thousands of years. Let's say what you're going to do there. And immediately people are, I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of them that come here with some kind of knowledge, that immediately letting that go, not looking at it and just going into assimilating into the new culture that they are in. And I know a lot of people have, perhaps this is their first reincarnation in this, they don't know. But it's all about knowing you are part of the system. You're not God. You can't be more perfect than the perfect, which is nature. You can call it whatever you want, God, Yahweh, this, that, it doesn't matter. But eventually you need to get to this understanding. Either we truly align with it on the personal level first, which is very easy, or we're all going to experience bad stuff. Sure, you might not reincarnate in this realm again because you've done that on your personal level, like you, like me, like Mark. And when I say it, it's not just knowledge. No, you should be acting on it. For example, people who think they know how to live and they are karmists, these people are going to come back because they didn't act. And eventually they didn't act because they don't know, they claim knowledge. You may have this, but I don't think this is the point. You're not coming here just to save yourself. You will be saving yourself while you're acting on natural law, but the idea is you came here because you care about others. You really want to help them because they are childish. These creatures, they don't act on natural law, no matter how much they may seem to have in this world from money, power, this, that. Eventually they are childish because they don't know themselves. Having more money won't make you anything better, but having more knowledge about natural law will make you better.
Absolutely. I know we're coming up on the end of our interview. I want to briefly touch on the fact that, I love that you're doing this work and you're not based in America. I think we have a lot of amazing, great, American truth and freedom podcasters, but I want to see more international truth and freedom podcasters, because I think also multilingual. I really think it's important for us to network and think more globally. I think people kind of get caught up in the sort of communities that we create locally. And do you think that you're going to provide any content in other languages that you speak?
I may. I'm not sure. I don't want to lie. I'm struggling now on the personal level. I didn't touch on that, but guys, I was born in Israel, and Israel is like exactly Nazi Germany at in the 30s and 40s. So what I've decided in my life is to truly cut myself off, not even give them taxation, which is theft, not give them that money to buy bombs or anything. And no matter what that may brings on me, I'm gonna do it. So I'm paying for that now. I'm paying the price. So I'm not stable in my life right now to be able to provide in other languages. I'm even what I'm reducing is like the lowest level possible. Just open your camera and reveal yourself. But eventually, when I settle down, hopefully very soon, I'm gonna be working with people who will provide that in Arabic and possibly in Hebrew. I know people that in this group that are from Israel, but I wasn't able to communicate with them. I don't know if they're still in Israel, but I know that they're doing the work in Israel. But yeah, hopefully when I settle down, I can provide it in multiple languages.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I speak other languages, and I need to do more multilingual work myself. It's a journey. It's tough. I commend you on taking right actions. It's always going to be a sort of transition. I'm going through a similar sort of life transition for making right action choices, and I'm honored to have you as a friend in my life. I think it's awesome what you're doing, and you inspire me because it's kind of a lonely path, and it's nice to know there's other people out there that care enough to actually do something about it.
Indeed, it is a lonely path. Unfortunately, because we don't have a lot of people, but if we had them, it wouldn't be like this. But it is. Maybe in America, it's not that lonely, but I know internationally, it is that lonely. And so when it comes to the Middle East, it's so lonely. In fact, even it's so lonely that it can hurt you so much. I know people that ended their lives because they knew this knowledge, but they were living in so toxic of society that there is no way. If you go out of the picture that they want, immediately you will lose your head. And physically, I'm speaking that, I'm not, you'd be like cut off from work. No, you'll lose it. You will be burned alive. These things happen. You don't have them in America. And that's why I prefer to have it in English first, because I know if there is a change that may come, it must come. And perhaps it will only come from people in the West. We have a lot of stories about it. We have a lot of movies about that, telling us that the men of the West will do it. The people of the West, they are the most conscious. In fact, look at America. They are the only people that have weapons with them. That's why I decided to start with English, at least. Because if the Americans didn't do it, if the Europeans didn't do it, then I don't think any other society will do it, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be providing the knowledge. Perhaps we will be saving, as Jordan Maxwell said when he was asked, do you think after all of these years doing what you're doing, do you think you will succeed? He said, no, I knew that since day one. What I'm doing, what kept me on that path is knowing that I will save some individuals. So even if we're not gonna make it, you know what, we tried. When we meet Cosmic Judgment, we'll be saying, I truly tried, and some individuals will be saved by you. And this, you can't wish for a better price than this.
I love that. Thank you so much, Anil, for everything that you shared today. I'll admit, I kind of go through various periods of like, joy, inspiration, but also despair. And I sort of vacillate between those. And I think a lot about all those that have come before us that have been part of this stream of trying to support humanity's awakening and ascension process. And they didn't get to see the fruits of their labor either. I'm not entitled to see it in my lifetime either, and I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to be a part of it, because what else is there?
Exactly. That's so beautiful. We're doing it because it is the truth. There is a guy, I don't remember his name, lived in the 1700s, perhaps. He said, you should be doing the right thing because it is the right thing. Not because you'll get money, not because you'll get famous, not for any other reason other than it is the right thing to do. And this is the main point that we're trying to make people to understand. We're not here to be famous. We're not here to make money. And it's, as you said, it's lonely path. It's hard path. But we're doing it because it's the truth. Even if we're not gonna be seeing the fruits of our labor, but at least we will be proudly saying that we have tried, and this is it. It's not up to us anymore. It's just cosmic judgment, nature, planetary consciousness. They will take it from there. And nature, there are a lot of signs in nature that these things went that way a lot of times. When society becomes so sick, nature will say, here's another comet. Here's another flood. And no one cares about those who didn't wake up. Nature doesn't care. If you think you are two special guys, do not get this knowledge because you were born Jew, this, that, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever. You're not special. Just lower your egos, be humble and open your heart, and you will see how much knowledge you truly need to know.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Anil. Again, folks, check out his work at Rawville Truthum 93. That's RAWVIL Truthum 93 on YouTube. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it so much, and keep up the great work.
You too, brother.
Thanks a lot.